Hi, it's Steve here from Leading Dental. We're just going to do a quick training video today on the Belmont Eurus S6 knee brake chair. This particular one's got the ceiling mounted light, so it will be specific to this model. So first things first, let's make sure that we've got the chair turned on. This is our on-off switch here. We flick our power switch on. Then if we come over here to the colour display, we'll see that that display starts to light up and you'll hear the sound there as it boots up. So what we need to do is we need to wait until we've got instructions on the screen. We need to make sure that all of our handpieces are in the hanger when we start the chair up. Otherwise it's going to go into an error mode and lock out those handpieces. So make sure those are all in and we just wait for this screen to light up. And when it does, it's going to first come up with it's going to request there for us to do flushing. Okay, so let's go through just a quick overview on the touch screen here and some of the main settings without going too deep, just the main settings. We've got patient here, which is adult, elderly or child. Now the settings do vary slightly with the configuration based on what type of patient we have got in there. We've got users on here. So we've got 6 different users on there that we can set. So we can set 6 different users with their own name. We can copy and paste user settings across. So settings on there, that's quite self-explanatory to go in there and just set up those settings. And then once we've set up, we can choose which user there once we've chosen a name for each one of those. We've got our settings menu here, so there's a whole load of settings in there. We'll go through them all one at a time as we go through the training, but we've got everything from handpiece settings, language settings, cup fill, very sort of fine-tuned settings that we'll go through later in the video. We've got our rinse settings here. So that's for our bowl rinse there. So I've hit that and our bowl rinse is running over there. I'll now hit the cup fill. So our cup fill is running there. Now it's in the mode at the moment that when the cup fill runs, it also runs the spittoon. That's something we can also adjust and we'll show you that a little bit later. Okay, cup fill and bowl rinse functions. Let's have a look in there. So we've got cup fill level. So we can set the level that the cup filler fills up to. So all we do is follow the instructions there. We place an empty cup. We hold the cup fill button, which is on the assistant side there, the one with the icon shown on the screen there. And then we just release when it gets to the level. Easy as that, we've set our level on the cup fill. Bowl flush time. Pretty self-explanatory. That's the time when you hit the bowl flush, how long. Default at 6 seconds. If we want to change that, we just key in the new value and hit OK. So pretty self-explanatory, but some nice little user functions. Interlock of cup filling and bowl flush. Now, this is one. I usually have the interlock on there. You can have interlock or no interlock. With the interlock on, when you fill the cup, it also gives the bowl a quick rinse. When there's no interlock, it means the cup fill and bowl rinse are always completely independent. I like to have a little rinse of the bowl when you fill the cup because in a lot of cases it means the patient's about to have a rinse or they've just had a rinse. So it's a good idea to get just a little bit of water through the bowl in either of those instances. Yeah. Okay, so this is the screen that comes up when we first turn the chair on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip it for this one. And assume we're not doing the flushing, but now I'll show you how to get back to that screen if we decide, oh look, we really should have done that, which you should be doing in the morning. So we've got 2 different modes of the flushing here. We've got a 40-second and we've got a 10-minute. Now this is flushing your handpiece lines for our biofilm control. Now that's a method you're going to have in place within the surgery. We won't go through it now, but we've got our flushing mode. Let's assume we want to do the short mode there and we hit OK on there. Now, it's asking us to pick up the handpieces that we want to flush. Now, for this exercise, let's do handpiece 1 and 2. It tells us to hit the foot pedal there. So what we do is we move those handpieces into a bucket or spittoon or wherever we're going to flush the water into. We hit the start button on the pedal, and that's going to flush. Now, it's going to do for a 40-second flush there at the moment, which is what we've set. Or it's going to do 10 minutes if we choose the 10-minute mode. Now, usually that would be done by putting some biofilm solution into your water bottle there, and we flush that through. So that's a specific procedure you're going to have to set up within the surgery and have a talk to us or your supplier who's supplying you the biofilm treatment. Once we're finished, we just put those handpieces back in the hanger. I cut that short by hitting the pause button, and now we're back to the main screen. Timer's there if we ever need to set a timer. We've got a heater there, so we can actually have heated water on the cup fill. So if it's the middle of winter, you can have your water heated going, so a little bit more comfortable for the patient. So that's just a really simple overview of the colour display, and we'll go back into more detail later on those functions. So a couple of things to go through on here. One was this lock button. If we hold the lock button down and hit OK, what that's going to do is going to lock out our touch screen. So if we want that locked out, you might have kids that I think they're playing a video game and you want to lock it out, or just if there's a reason you need to lock that out so it's not accidentally pushed, we can lock that screen out. And it tells us how to unlock just by holding down this button, and away we go. Simple as that. So we've got the lock mode on there. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the other functions on the front of the screen here, or on the front of the doctor's head. We've got this little button here. Now this is a brake, yeah? So if we want to move that height adjustment, we push the button and then release, and that just locks in a little friction brake there, which holds the doctor's head at the height that we want to hold that. Quite simple. Push to move, release to lock it into place. Now on these hangers here, there's a little clip on the back there. Now I just pull that clip forward with my finger, this little clip here, and that releases that. So it's just little removable holders, so you can pull that out for cleaning, and we can also adjust the size of that for different size high hangers and that sort of thing, depending what we're putting into those holders. So that's our holders there. We can vary the height of this. That's something that should be done by your technician. What we need to do is just loosen a couple of grub screws in there. We change the height and then lock that back in. So someone's authorised should do that. We do have a control here for our water bottle. So it's probably a good time to move on to our water bottle now. We turn our water bottle off there, and what you'll notice is that the pressure on the water bottle here will go down. So if we have a look around underneath here, we've got a water bottle control under there, near our triplex syringe controls. So that'll be reading down on 0. And we've got a little button here that we can go between city, push for city, or pull for water bottle. So once we're depressurized, we can unscrew that bottle. We take it away, we fill it up, and we use our biofilm control. We put that bottle back onto the chair, and then we pressurise the water bottle again just by lifting that. You'll hear the pressure come up, and if you have a look at the gauge, you'll see the pressure on the gauge go up. If we go on to mains water, then we're using obviously the city water, so we're using the chlorinated water. So that controls all the water going to our cup fill and all of our handpiece and triplex lines. The water that comes out of the bowl rinse is always coming out of mains water. Okay, so let's scroll down to the next page. So we've got timer control panel, so let's have a look in there. So timer alarm selection, key touch volume, and sleep mode. So the selection there of the different modes. So some exciting timer functions there. You can work out which one annoys you the least. So key touch volume there, how loud do you want it? Again, work out which one suits you. You might want it turned off altogether. So you can select the key touch volume in there. And then we've got our sleep mode. So set the duration until the display goes into sleep. So again, we can set that up to the time limit we want, just up and down on the menu there, and hit OK. So let's go through our handpiece lines here. So as you can see, we've got 5 hangers here. We've got one with our triplex syringe, and then we've got 4 handpiece lines. So in this case, we've got the triplex, we've got 1 high-speed line, we've got 2 electric motors, and we've got a scaler here. So that's our 5 lines. Now, under here is our water control. 1, 2, 3, 4 water controls in here. See these 4 blue knobs? So these 4 blue knobs go hanger 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they're our handpiece lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, not the triplex. Our triplex is around this side here. We've got a blue knob and a yellow knob. Now the yellow knob is yellow for air, blue for water. So our triplex syringe here, and our 4 handpiece lines here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we've got our 5 handpiece hangers there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up the high speed here, and I'm going to show you something quite unique to this chair. You see on the screen here, we've got 10 power settings. Now, this is very unique to the chair with the power control that we can set. Now, if I hit the foot pedal there, if we had a high speed handpiece on there, we'd be operating the handpiece. You can hear that air blowing there. If I slide the foot pedal side to side, I'm increasing my power from 1 up to 10. That's increasing the airflow and therefore the speed of the high-speed turbine. So that's an amazing feature of this chair. Now that was in variable mode. If I pick this up and hit the variable there and choose fixed mode, okay, choose 10 as my power setting, then I'm locked in at number 10. If I choose 5, hit the foot pedal, I've got a maximum power of 5, so that's adjusting my power output. So that's quite an amazing feature that's unique to this chair. If you're using most of the time, I would imagine you're only going to want the full power there on a high speed. You're going to be running at full speed at 10. So in a lot of cases, you'll probably leave that in fixed mode at 10, but you've got that user functionality there if you want it. We've also got different user settings, presets that we can set here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different settings we can set here, all on user B, so each user has the ability to set their own settings. So we're in fixed mode there. Let's say we want to have a fixed mode of 5 and we want to store that into number 4. We just hold this button down here and we hit save. It's basically just checking that I do want to make that a default when the power turns on again. I've saved that. Now that will be now locked in on memory function 4 for user B. So that's how we set this preset setting there for the high speed. Okay, so we're going to go through some of the user functions now. So the advanced settings, if we go into here, we've got flushing at the top. Our second one down is the handpiece there. So at the top, we've got drive air pressure. So our drive air pressure there, if we pick up a handpiece, we can drive the handpiece and it will tell us what pressure we're getting through the handpiece. So that's great to check that we're using the right pressures for our handpiece to get the best longevity, or make sure we're getting the maximum power out of a handpiece without going too high. Okay, so the next function down is our spray mode. So if we hit spray mode there, again, it's asking us to pick up a handpiece. So we've got 2 mode or 4 mode. So let's choose 4 mode there. And that 4 mode refers to the blue knob on our foot pedal. So this knob here. So every time I hit that little blue button, you'll see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different settings that I can use on that air and water. That's mist air, that's got mist water on, but no mist air. No mist air, no water. Mist air and water, or just air, no water. So when we go into 2 mode, we only have 2 modes, air and water on, air and water off. So in a lot of cases, it's simpler just to have 2 modes. It just makes you either want mist air and water on, mist air and water off. Okay, so let's go through our electric motors here. So we've got 2 electric motors here, and these are both NSK NLX Plus. So that means that they've also got endo function. So we've got a maximum speed here of 40,000 RPM. We can go as a fixed mode or a variable mode. If we're in variable mode, it means, and we just hit OK on that one, it means that whatever our maximum is set at, we can go between our maximum speed and all the way down to 1000 RPM just by sliding the foot pedal here, which we'd usually do with our foot. We slide side to side and you'll see the control up on the screen here going between 1000 all the way up to whatever we have our maximum speed set at. And then with all of those, in all of these modes, we can then have 1, 2, 3, 4 variable settings there that we can program. So let's say we do want to say use this for all of our Profi work. Let's dial all the way down. We might decide that the maximum speed we're ever going to want to use for Profi is 5000 RPM. So let's lock it in at 5000, and then we go here and we hit save. Okay, that's now a maximum speed, and I can vary that between 1000 and 5000. If we decide, well, I don't ever need to vary, I use 5000 fixed all the time, we go into fixed mode, and then we'll just save it in with the fixed mode there. So that's our option there to have either the variable or fixed. Obviously in fixed mode, it just stays fixed and runs at a constant speed. In variable mode, we can use that slide function. Now, what we should also look at is the gear ratio here. That's very important depending on the handpiece you're using. Everything to a 5:1 red band speed increasing, 1:1, 4:1 and 16:1. So this is basically setting your gear ratio of your handpiece to match the speed on the screen. So let's say we're using a red band. Let's go and try that. Let's put that to a red band, 1 to 5. Now our 5,000 has just changed to 25 because that's actually doing the maths for you and saying that, well, if the motor's going at 5,000, my burr is now spinning at 25,000 RPM. So those ratios are doing the maths for you to work out what that gearing reduces or increases the speed of the burr. If we're using a 1:1 handpiece, we put it on 1:1, which means the speed of the motor matches the speed of the burr on a 1:1 handpiece. So that's our settings there. Now, let's see what happens if we drop our speed right down into one of these lower ranges, down under 5,000 RPM. You'll notice there's a whole new set of displays come up here. Now, that's because we've got an endo function handpiece. So that's now brought us in a new range of options. We've now got our torque that we can set here. We've got auto reverse, which we can turn off. We've got auto reverse function or auto reverse forward, which is our 3 different modes that we can use with our handpiece there and our torque settings. So we can hit OK on there and then we can store them in if we want to store them for our settings. So again, we can have our 4 settings there. So if we're using this in endo mode, we can have our 4 favorite settings. And in this particular case on this chair, we've got 2 electric motors. So one might be specific for endo functions, one might be general low speed, or if you don't want to use the preset functions, you don't have to use them at all, obviously. We've got light on and off here, pretty self-explanatory. Forward and reverse, danger, red, we're going in reverse. Water on and off, and we've got air on and off. So that's our mist air, our chip air, and our water mist for the chair there. So we've got an amazing amount of functionality on the screen there, all touch screen, which is just amazing. So. Okay, so next hanger we've got the scaler. So this is the neutron scaler from Action. So very similar in control to the other handpieces. We've got perio mode, endo mode, and scaling. So all these settings have been programmed in for the neutron, which is awesome. So we've got our power settings there that we can set up again in manual, or we can go into variable mode where we slide the foot pedal. So we can use either one of those modes within each range. So if we're using a scaler tip and we're in fixed mode, we'll save that. You know, most of the handpieces I know around in the scaling, around about sort of 6, 7 is quite average for the neutron handpieces. So you're most likely going to be set at that. So I can hit save on that and save, and we set that in as our saved preset on there. So that will hold those settings for that scaler. So the other basic functions there, water on and off, and if we've got an optical scaler, we'll turn the optics on and off there. So quite simple, but again, very powerful and a lot of information there on the screen. Let's go through the chair functions. Now we've got 3 ways that we can control all of the chair functions. We've got this touchpad here, we've got joystick control on the back of the chair, and we've got some limited functionality on the assistance hanger over here. So let's go back to the doctor's control here. We've got our manual chair movements here, we've got our presets here, and this one here is what we control, either our headrest or manual movements, or even the leg rest we can control through that. So we'll go through all of those different functions now. So patients in the chair. First thing you're usually going to do then is we're going to adjust the headrest. Now if we want to adjust the headrest from here, we hit this button so that the green light's up here. If we move up and down on here, you'll see that the headrest is going up and down here. Now that's on the control panel. We can also replicate that down here. Headrest up and down here. So that's headrest up and down, and then if we look up the headrest, if we go left and right, that moves the headrest forwards and backwards. So most commonly you would use the joystick control, we get the headrest into the exact position that we want for the patient, and all of that set and ready to go. Now, if we do hit that button and take that green light off, these become manual chair movements. So chair up and down, backrest up and down, that's manually. Again, those positions are replicated down here on our center joystick, and then on our joystick on the far left at the bottom, that's replicating our 4 presets here, which is 0, 1, 2, and LP. 0 is our entry exit. 1 and 2 are user settable. So if we hit number 1, it's going to go into the position that was last set for the chair. Chair's going to come up, the leg rest is going to extend out. That's our user preset. So let's say we get to our position and we decide we want to go down just a little bit lower. Set that in as our new number 1. We hold down the 1 and wait for a beep. That's our new number 1 position. So simple as holding down the button, we're locked in. So LP, now this is an interesting one. So no matter where we put that chair, we can move that headrest all the way down. Let's say we want to sit our patient up for a rinse. We hit LP. It's going to move the patient up. It's going to allow them to have a rinse. You can set where that position is too. So you might have a procedure, you want to have it at 45 degrees, and you can set that LP at 45 if you want. But it's not changing the height of the chair, it's just moving the backrest up. If we hit LP again, it's going to go into the last position you had that patient. So no matter how fine-tuned that patient is and how long you might have spent 5 minutes getting him in the perfect position, it's going to drop you straight back into that perfect position that you had the patient in. So that's a great little feature for a bowl rinse. Okay, so we're over here at the assistance hanger now. So very similar to what we've got on the doctor's side there. We've got these little holders that we can take out and we can change the size of there, and they go in and clip in. Just clip at the back there. We've got our suction there. We can turn on and off, obviously. We've got a spare hanger here, so we can actually get an insert and modify that one to put an extra hanger in there as well. So that comes blanked off as standard. So we've got our high volume suction and our low volume suction on there, our triplex, and we've got our buttons up here replicated. So we've got our spittoon and bowl rinse on there. We've got our preset positions on there. And we can also turn our light on and off if we had a light connected to the chair. In this case, we've got our manual overhead light. So that feature does become redundant on this particular chair. Let's just go through some of the functionality on the assistance holder here. First of all, we've got a height adjustment on here. So under here, we've got a little knob under here that we can, if we lift and push down that button, we can let that go down. If we bring it up, it's got a ratchet. It goes up, locks into position. Once we get to the top, if we want to lower, again we lift, take the weight off the button, push the button down and then release. So that's how we adjust our height there. And the suction system itself, so we've got a dual filter suction here. Each filter can have 2 suction lines on it, so that's a vast improvement with the capacity of suction there. Okay, so we've got a dual filter system on these chairs. What we need to do is we just need to pull that filter basket straight out for maintenance. So that just pulls straight out, and we can take that to the stereo room for cleaning. So once we've got the filter out, we can just take off that end piece of the filter. We can take that to the stereo room for clean, or we can replace that. Okay, when we replace the filter, we've got to make sure that we put that back in straight up and down at 12 o'clock. If we don't put that at 12 o'clock, it's not going to allow proper flow of the suction line. So we just need to make sure that's at straight up and down 12 o'clock position. Okay, so probably only one more main thing left on the doctor's tray here to talk about. That's this little, it's what's called an oil catcher. So what's happening is all of our exhaust air that comes off our high-speed turbines actually exhaust through here, and anything that's in those lines, moisture, oil, will get caught in here. Now these days it's very unusual to see oil in your handpiece lines, so it's most likely, if you get anything in here, these days it's most likely going to be water. Let's say you have an O-ring on a handpiece that fails, it might allow water to leak into your airline, and this might fill up with water. So it's probably a sign that you've got an O-ring needs changing on a handpiece if you see water in here. Or maybe even an O-ring on an electric motor or something like that. So that's probably just an indication that you've got some general maintenance to do there.